Hey, Marcus Washington, MTC Media. Canada and Australia, one of the bigger games in the group stage of the Olympics here. Played this morning. Really, really good game. If you didn't get up to watch it like I did, certainly I'm sure there's a replay that you can catch some on there. It is worth the watch. Canada wins 93-83, and we don't necessarily want to recap the game. We'll talk a little bit about what Canada did in the second half. That was the difference. But right now, I just really want to talk about Gilgeous-Alexander and RJ Barrett and how their games, as good as they are in the NBA, how their games are extremely effective when we talk about the international game and the FIBA game. Gilgeous-Alexander ended up with 16. RJ Barrett ended up with 24. But it's how they get it. They get it by being basketball players and not specialists. RJ Barrett, one of the knocks from the NBA, side of things, is always says, "Oh, well, he doesn't shoot the three well. He doesn't do this well. Doesn't do that." Well, in FIBA, where again we're talking about, and this is an overused term, positionless basketball is as overused as West Coast offense in the NFL. But because he plays basketball positionless, and SGA does too here. Now you can say they somewhat do it in the NBA, but the schematics of the court's different. Like with RJ today, he was so effective because he can post up, and he's a willing post up guy. There's not a defensive 3-second rule in FIBA. So what ends up happening is he knows where the pull-up points are when he's driving based on the bounce. Same thing with SGA. They know where the pull-up points are when there's a guy clouding up the lane because he was allowed to stay in there, as opposed to the NBA, where because of the defensive 3-second rule, the lanes are wider. And now it becomes a quickness game. Can I beat this guy before he gets outside the lane, into a defensive posture outside of the restricted area? Can I get to the front of the rim before then? Well, you're not going to have that in the Olympics. You're not going to have that in Eurobasket. You're not going to have that in the FIBA World Cup. You're not going to have that there. So there are pull-up points, and those guys get to the pull-up points. Here is a look at the shot chart of just SGA and RJ Barrett. Take a look at that shot chart. Look where their field goals are coming, both makes and misses. See, you don't see a lot of that 3-point shot, right? You see it at the front of the rim. Some of those came off of turnovers and such. You see it in that mid-range area that people claim that is dead in the NBA, which is not exactly dead. I think sometimes that is certainly overplayed in the NBA, because if you watch the United States play, now you might not see it with South Sudan, but you saw it with Serbia. You're going to see it with a lot of other teams. Is they're going to try to outmath the U.S. by saying we can make more threes than you can make twos, especially with the U.S. really not having 3-point shooters on that team. They have guys who can make threes. They don't really have 3-point shooters. I know you can have an argument for someone like Devin Booker, but you know what I mean. From an international perspective, you've seen teams that truly have 3-point shooters and multiple 3-point shooters. But getting back to the shot chart, you see where everything is, and that just shows you, again, they know where the pull-up points are, which makes them so effective, okay? Plus, defensively, if you look at what they did defensively, RJ Barrett changed this game around. His on-ball defense, especially in the second half, after Josh Giddey kind of went ham in the first half, and you kind of knew that he wasn't going to continue that. But RJ Barrett, it just changed things. Australia ended up with 18 turnovers, and that truly was the difference in the game. Canada in the second half went and they started switching everything. The ball pressure was better. If you're watching the first half, they were in trail a lot. That's why you saw the foul on Jamal Murray on the 3-point shot with Patty Mills and those type of things. And they just switched and they jammed everything up. And they worked around foul trouble. This time around, Lou Dort and Dylan Brooks both didn't get in foul trouble. Now, Dylan Brooks got in foul trouble, but Lou Dort didn't get in foul trouble. So Dort was out on the floor. This time around, unlike the first game in the group phase where, Canada still ended up winning, but those guys had 4 fouls by the third quarter, and so did Norman Powell. He had 4 fouls by the third quarter in that first game. So that's what really key Canada was their defense, being able to defend, switching as opposed to being in trail, change the game around. Then obviously they have enough offensive weapons. You know, they got 11 from Dort today. They got 7 from Powell. I felt like I have to look at his points here. Jamal Murray only ended up with 5 points. I know he shot 2 for 7. He looked much better than he did in the first game. First game, he just looked like he was just out there. This game, he looked more acclimated, and I think he's one of the ones that will get better as the tournament goes on. I think you'll see Murray get better. Never forget, Murray has not played with these guys. Every time there was international competition, Murray was either hurt or whatever the case may be. So he's really starting to still having to feel his way out here. But Canada, very impressive this morning. Also from earlier, Greece losing to Spain. This sets up a great game. I believe Greece plays Australia next. That should be a terrific one. But this is our wrap up. Canada 93, Australia 83. It's Mark Washington, MTC Media.